Hello everyone. I'm here doing an Inside the Tarot reading, and I'm here with Carol today, so thank you very much, Carol, for coming.
My pleasure.
And she is here to get a tarot reading regarding some issues that she's been having. So maybe in your own words, would you like to tell us what brought you to the cards?
Help.
Help.
And guidance.
And guidance. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Carol, unfortunately, has been a victim of some sexual abuse, rape, and she's finding that triggers are happening in life, and it's preventing you from having a normal life, a normal sex life, the whole thing like that. You're looking to have a loving relationship in which intimate physical action can happen. Yes. You don't feel like it can happen right now. No. And so you wanted to consult the cards and see maybe what can help, maybe what direction to take, that sort of thing.
Yes.
So what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to kind of hold the cards, and you're going to put some of your energy into those cards so it knows who you are and what you're all about. And in particular, think about what you'd like to find from the cards. Was there anything in particular, any question in particular that you wanted to bring to the cards today?
Am I going to suffer like this for the rest of my life?
Okay.
Because that's how I feel. I feel like I am stuck in a never-ending loop of suffering.
Okay.
When it comes to this stuff.
Right.
I'd like to be free from it.
Yeah, because it probably takes over your thoughts, your daily thoughts as well, right?
Everything that I do, everybody that I talk to.
Mm-hmm. And as women, in a society where we're sometimes grabbed inappropriately and, things have been said to us inappropriately, we already are on our guard.
Yes.
And when we've actually been attacked, I find we're even more so on our guard. Yes. Now, Carol's talking with me today. She, like I said, she's been a victim of rape. If you've seen some of my videos, you know that I, too, was also a victim of rape when I was 16 years old. So I am familiar with some of the patterns that she's going through, some of the pain that you're going through. I find this is sort of a thing that someone else really has to have gone through it themselves in order to fully understand it. You can empathize with it for sure, but to truly understand it, because it's a roller coaster of emotions, from I want to be strong to I could have fought harder to I'm so weak and I'm shamed and I'm dirty. All these kind of things are all coming at you all the time. And it's weird how the weirdest thing out in the real world can make you think about it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to tilt this camera down so you can't see me anymore. Whoops. Went down too far. There we go. Because I want you guys to be able to see the cards and see what's coming up. Oh my goodness. This thing doesn't want to stay up. Let me see if it... No, I just was turning it the wrong way. Okay. So there we go. So, I think, you warmed these up nice.
Yes, I did.
You are warm.
I can feel.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread these cards out. And with your left hand, I'm going to get you to pick out 5 cards for me. Now, Carol's is kind of an unusual reading because her situation's an unusual situation. Now, have you had a tarot reading done before?
Long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Have to count them.
No worries. Beautiful, thank you. So, this is your first one. I'm going to make a little star here for you. This is your star. There we go. And was your first one just for fun? Or your last one just for fun? Or was it, were you after a specific thing as well?
No, I was after a specific card.
Okay. So we're going to flip some cards and see what happens here. So you've got the Queen of Pentacles. So this is interesting that you start out with the Queen. Because queens are, part of the court cards. I jokingly say the queens are the get her done girls, because she's bookended by the knight who talks about moving forward, and she's got on the other end the king who talks about how grand he is. But the queen, and I always jokingly say, if you want something done, you got to get a woman to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Is the one that actually puts these plans into
Motion
kind of thing, yes. And you've got the Queen of Pentacles, so it tells me that you have some strength, and you have strength deeper than you realize you have. I think you have a little bit of strength because you've been able to get through some of the situations you got through, and you keep it well hidden. Not that that's a good thing, but walking down the street, someone wouldn't go, oh, there's someone who's been hurt, kind of thing. You're a beautiful woman. You really, truly are.
Thank you.
Because is this the first? No, we've met once before.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I remember being struck by, wow, she looks really good.
Thanks.
But this Pentacles often has to do with money, but in general, what Pentacles are about is they're an earth-based element.
Okay.
So what some of your strength comes from, and what you should draw upon, is that you're very good at becoming grounded when you need to.
Mm-hmm.
And so earth is your go-to place, or should be your go-to place. And whenever you're feeling that overwhelming emotion that's being triggered, or if you're thinking, like, I'm thinking about this a lot, because again, it pops up at weird times when you think about some of the stuff you've been through, that you need to find that place to quickly ground yourself. So some of the things that you can do is, when you're sitting, make sure your feet are flat on the floor. I heard you shift. The other thing too is a fast way to ground yourself is eat root vegetables. And I know that sounds really weird, but I use it all the time myself. When I do a lot of tarot readings at like a festival or something, or a big event, I often get very airy and out in the ether. And my daughter used to travel with me for these festivals, and we always had a bag of baby carrots, and she would just hand me the bag, and I'd realize I'm starting to sound loopy because I've been doing too many, and I would eat the carrots, and it instantly grounds you.
Okay.
Now, eating in general will ground you, but especially if it's root vegetables. So always have some carrots on you. It will help take you out of that place of, do you suffer from anxiety because of? Yes, of course. That's sort of
I have complex post-traumatic stress.
Of course, of course. And do you ever find yourself out in public where you're suffering from
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely bag of baby carrots is your best friend.
Okay.
Always keep a pack in your purse. And if you find yourself going to that place of anxiety, pop some baby carrots. Better than any pill you'll ever take.
Okay. I will do that.
Yes.
I love potatoes too.
Oh, potatoes, yes, absolutely. Anything that grows in the ground has a very grounding effect on you. So this card really is here to tell you you're stronger than you think. And I know when you're in a weak place,
I don't feel very strong.
you don't feel strong. You also feel like, I'm so tired, I don't want to be strong.
That too, yeah.
Right? And but you, ultimately your end game is you want to kind of be able to manage this so it's not managing you.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yes.
right now it's managing and controlling you, right? Because not only were you a victim of rape, but you know, as a young child, that story you told me about the pellet gun, you know, that was horrific. Your own parents kind of betrayed you. And you had people standing outside your bedroom window as a young girl.
Yes.
You know, you've got so many things that you're dealing with. So you're very strong. So know that. Oh, and you got the High Priestess to go with it. So this is the High Priestess that she got to go with it. This is amazing. So the High Priestess is a couple of things to me. One, the High Priestess is it's the next level up from being grounded, basically.
Okay.
Because she is the one that sits on the throne, and she's got a lot of knowledge. She's number 2, so she's all about balance, right? So she's here to say that balance is coming. The waters here are calm.
That is so relieving to hear.
And the waters are nice and calm here. She always has a river, no matter what tarot deck you're using. She always has a river flowing under her throne. And that's because her mantra is be still. Find the comfort in silence. And she's also about being with yourself. A lot of times when you're a victim of a violent crime, the last person you want to be with is yourself, because thoughts come in. Are intrusive. But it's in the stillness that you will actually find some of that peace. The grounding needs to come first, and then the peace follows. But it is coming. And you've got two very strong women right with you, which is a beautiful thing. I love that you have the High Priestess here to say, I'm here with you, and I'm going to help you find that balance. And she's also all about the moon, which is very feminine, and the cycles that we go through and that sort of thing. And especially since you're, a lot of your violence towards you was sexually driven, the moon cycles are very important to you, or should be, because again, it's all about our reproductive system and our, going through our period. And you say you're now entering into menopause phase and stuff like that. So that's a whole other bag of cats that I too am also entering into and dealing with.
Well, something that I do is when I know the full moon, well, I follow the full moon, but I put water out in the full moon, so the day before, the day of, and then the day after, and I do that with my stones, and I carry stones. Sometimes I carry them in my clothing, in my bra, I always have them in my purse, and then I, of course, incorporate them into jewelry and stuff too, so.
Right, very nice, yes, and that's awesome. So that's excellent that you do follow the full moon and all that kind of stuff. So you know where you are in the cycle of the moon. And women are very connected to the moon, even if they're not aware of it, because the moon affects the oceans.
Yes.
So of course it's going to affect us. We're, was it 70% water or something like that? Don't quote me on that. I'm not a scientist. But it can't help but affect us. And, there's also the new moon is very important to pay attention to, because that's a great time to start things. Know that when it's at the first quarter, there's going to be challenges. So if you're emotional, you're feeling defeated, perhaps you're in the first quarter of the moon, and that's okay. That's a normal energy. The universe will challenge us with things, and it's to help us grow. The universe makes us uncomfortable, so we move,
That's how I'm trying to look at things, this is my opportunity to grow.
Absolutely. So what are some of the most annoying things that happen in your life because of this?
Annoying?
Yeah, like things that you want to kind of release out of your life, that things in ways that they're disrupting what you would perceive as a normal day. Like how does it interrupt that normal day?
I don't know. I think I would just like to feel like some of the women that I know, where things like that just don't bother them at all. So they can be exposed to things that I find triggering, but it doesn't bother them at all.
Right.
Like they actually think it's,
So you'd like to watch a movie and have a love scene and not be upset by it?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Or be out someplace and not worry that somebody is going to come up and grab me or touch me in a way that,
right.
is...
Because unfortunately, you've had a couple of episodes like that.
Just,
even in the grocery store, it's like, oh goodness. And right after my rape, I could not watch anything that had any kind of skin involved.
Yeah, that makes it worse. Like even
it does.
Like perceived rape. I mean, just knowing that is going to happen, the anxiety starts.
Absolutely.
But,
and even, I don't know if you find this is true, but I'm just letting our audience know where our heads are at. Afterwards, I found even love scenes where they were going to be making love and it was all consensual, and it was still triggering to me. Personally, it doesn't bother me anymore, but I've done a lot of work to get to this place, right? And fortunately for me, I had a husband who was very protective. He has literally, and I just found this out like a year ago, he literally would watch a movie before we watched a movie to see if there was anything triggering in
See,
it.
that's amazing.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, wow, you spend a lot of time watching movies. But if there was, he would be like, no, you don't want to watch this. And at first I was all like, what do you mean? You know, you can't deny me this.
Yes.
And then I realized what he was doing, that he was like, oh no, he's protecting me because he knows there's a suggestion of a rape or an actual rape happening in it. He usually let the love scenes slide after a while, because after a while it didn't bother me anymore. But yeah, I remember my uncle put on a movie right after the whole thing happened to me when I was a teenager, and he thought it was a normal movie, and you know, it was a normal love scene, you know, whatever. And I screamed and I cried and I ran out of the room, and he was like, what did I do?
Well, and that's how I feel.
Yeah.
So I would like to have some sort of normal, like, people that I know to be able to watch something like that. Because, I mean, when you go to a movie theater, you can't run out of the movie theater, right?
Or go to the bathroom for the next 2 hours.
Yeah. So it's it alters the way I move and am in the world.
Right, absolutely it does. And it probably alters the way you decide to do things.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you're never going to bend over a freezer counter anymore, are you?
No.
Because she had a guy grab her butt at the freezer counter one day.
At the grocery store.
At the grocery store. Now, you've got the Six of Pentacles. So again, it's talking about coins, but it's not really. It's bringing up the earth element. So you've got this 6, and I like that it's a 6. You've got this guy, he's balancing out his coins, right? The 6 is a number that indicates movement forward. So there's going to be some movement forward for you.
Goodness.
So you got to love that, right? And you've got these coins coming out here, and there's hands kind of up taking whatever's coming out. So to me, this really speaks to today, because what this is kind of saying is you're able to balance your scale, much like the High Priestess has already said, and you're sort of overflowing and you're helping other people more than you realize. You're not looking at those people because you don't realize it right now, because it's hard to see the forest when you're in the, or see the trees when you're in the forest, right? So you're in the forest right now. So know that there is movement forward happening. And I think it's going to be more than just the feedback thing that you get. That definitely will help, but definitely some counseling sessions, perhaps some soul sessions would really help you kind of learn how to not only remap your brain, but also what the soul sessions tend to do with me, because I've helped a few people through this, having been through it myself, is how to change the way you react to things, how to handle triggers so they don't trigger you anymore. And it doesn't mean the feeling won't go away, because if I, watch a movie and there's a rape,
still kind of there, but you
like,
can manage it.
when you watch a movie and you know there's a rape coming, or at least being implied, it hasn't maybe happened yet, I still kind of get that, oh, there's a rape going to happen, but I'm like, okay, it's a movie. It's outside of me. It's not part of me anymore, because it was a big part of my identity for a long time. And that's what I'm able to do, is separate that out. So it's not who you are. It's something that happened to you, and you're able to manage it. I hate the words get over it or get through it.
Because I can't get over it and I can't get through it. It's automatic. It just comes up. And
absolutely.
I will say things to myself like that, or I am safe, or if I have access to a bathroom, I'll go to the bathroom and turn on the water and run my wrists under the water and look at myself in the mirror and say, I am safe. This is not happening to me. But it doesn't... I don't know. It doesn't fix it.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, that emotion still comes up for me, but it doesn't come up in overwhelming waves where I'm having to be in that panic mode of, I got to get out of here. I got to do something. I'm able to go, okay, this is okay. Like you say, I am safe, but I'm saying it in a place of strength as opposed to a place of fear. I'm safe. I'm safe. I was there definitely, like, I'm safe. It's okay. I'm safe. And that's a beginning, but you want to get past that point.
I don't want to feel that anymore. It is exhausting mentally and physically and emotionally.
Absolutely. And when you're always on guard, because you tend to always be on guard, especially when you've been reinforced with the fact I've been attacked, so I'm not wrong in being on guard. But you don't need to be, generally speaking. 90% of the population are good people. It's the 10% that aren't. But you're painting, as I did, everybody with that 10% brush. I painted my own father with that brush, and my father was the kindest, most gentle guy you'd ever meet. And right afterwards, I wouldn't even let him hug me. And I know he was hurt, but he understood. And, and we got past that. He was able to hug me again. But, I was hurt that I was hurting my own father by that. And I was angry because I was like, you bastard, for raping me. Now I can't even hug my own father, right? How dare you take that away from me? But I didn't know how to get past it for a long time. And it is a journey. But it's a journey that looks like you're beginning and you're making movement forward. Because there's many times where I'm sure in the past you've started out.
Yes.
As I did many times myself. And it's like, nope, still back where I am.
Yeah, there's only so much I can take, and then I withdraw. I cannot physically take it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally 100% hear that. So there's movement forward that happens, and it's all grounding, because this is Pentacles, right? You're able to sort of accidentally awesomeness, as we call it, help others with your story. Like I said, when I put my story out there were so many women that came forward that said, I need to be where you are at because I'm where you were. And I'm like, yeah, I totally understand that. And I accidentally helped people, which is good, which is what you're going to do too. And you've got this Four of Wands. And I love that you've got this Four of Wands, because this is a few months out now. So it's sort of more in the future, but fours are stability. Twos are about balance. So you move from balance to stableness, because fours are your four walls now.
Okay.
You're not just balancing, you're actually creating stability in your life. You've got wands. Wands are the fire element. So you're getting the fire back in your life. And you're not afraid to show it anymore. This is nicknamed the marriage card, by the way.
Which I said I would never in my lifetime do.
No, this doesn't mean you're going to have a marriage. But it implies that there's a relationship that happens.
Right.
And that's what you're looking for too. To have a normal type relationship. I mean, every relationship has its stuff.
Ups and downs, yeah.
Of course. But this is a man and a woman as husband and wife with children and bunnies, and we all know what bunnies do. And you've got the dragonfly, which implies transformation.
Yeah.
And you've got the garland of roses, and the roses are the queen of the flowers, and they're used a lot in love spells and things like that. I mean, there's a reason why you give roses to someone, because you're implying a love or a friendship or whatever, right? Because red roses are about lust, pink roses are love, yellow roses are friendship, and then white roses are generally used at funerals because it's the love of the person that passed. So yes, they all have meanings. It all comes from the Victorian era. and this implies that there is a relationship that you're able to have, and have that fire and that passion without the fear. You've got the four of the stability. So you're feeling more stable, and it's when you're safe and stable, right? That healing happens, and that you're able to step into a relationship. Right now you're stepping in with so much fear, and you're painting every guy, deserved or undeserved, with the 10% brush, right? With, you are probably like my rapists, or you are like the person that molested me. And you're always thinking in the back of your mind, I've got to be guarded until he proves otherwise.
Yeah.
You know, because I totally get that. You're guilty until you prove you're innocent.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the wrong way to go into it.
Yeah,
exactly. Not wrong in the sense that you're not wrong in doing that. It's a totally normal reaction. Because again, you've been reinforced more than once that this is what happens when men get too close.
Yes.
you know, so, but it's not a way to treat all men.
No.
And in theory, that's great, but in practicality, we need to kind of work through some of that stuff and some of that fear and the triggers and whatnot. Now, I know this doesn't look like a good card, so I always start out exactly. I always start out with, I know this doesn't look good. So you've got the stability, which is great. But this 10s in tarot are a beautiful number because 9s in tarot are about completion, but they're just a nice, neat little completion. The cycle's over, boom, great. 10s are, the cycle's over, it's lovely, and you get a gift.
Oh, I like that.
It's sort of a bonus level, right? So you've got this 10 of swords, and swords are the air element. So they talk about the way you communicate, your words, your thoughts, your ideas, the way your mind is going, that sort of thing. So it implies, or it says, that the way you think, the way you're communicating with yourself, because I'm sure you have quite the inner monologue going on,
yes,
is at an end. There's an end of a cycle. So you stop doing some of the things that you're, like the way you're maybe talking down to yourself or doubting yourself, or being on guard for yourself. You know, you step out of that paranoia stage and get into a more stable stage, but there's a true ending, which is awesome because you're going to shift. You're going to shift. And the reason you're on the ground is not because you're being stabbed with 10 swords. It's because you're tired. But you've been tired going through all this work,
yes,
right? And I love that there's a deer here, because whenever there's a deer, it implies a time of peace. So this is your gift, is your time of peace, finally. You know, where you're not constantly thinking about past things that have happened. Because I suspect your mind spins on that. A lot.
Yeah.
If you're alone by yourself in the car, suddenly it pops up for some reason.
Oh, it even happens when I'm sleeping. I get sleep paralysis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Right.
it affects me on all sorts of levels.
Yeah, and you were saying even just, you know, smell even.
Yes.
You picked up that cologne and suddenly it washed over you like a tsunami wave.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not sure if people who haven't been through this understand the kind of waves that come at you. When
overwhelmed. Well, it's like being in the ocean and being taken down by waves. Like they just keep coming and coming and coming, and you can't catch your breath. Like you feel almost like you're drowning.
Yeah, absolutely. And you physically, it affects you physically no matter where you are. You feel like you're going to fall down,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And
you get dizzy, you feel weak, you feel like you can't breathe. It's...
Yeah, and suddenly you're like, I can't breathe kind of thing. So this is coming to an end, this phase.
Oh, thank God.
So this is a good thing. And it comes with work.
Yes.
I'm just going to look and see. Oh, you got a message. Okay. Because I want to see what your gift is. So pages always bring messages, and you've got the 8 of Wands.
Okay.
So you go through this cycle. You're at the end. You need to rest a little bit. So that's okay. And celebrate the baby steps. A lot of times, I find as victims too, we tend to... well, first of all, you're a survivor, not a victim, but we tend to demand so much of ourselves, you know, because we weren't perfect when it happened, so therefore we require perfection in everything else. In my video, you may or may not remember, afterwards I said my bedroom went from a messy teenage bedroom to a military clean bedroom. Like, I wanted perfection in everything I could control because I was so out of control internally, but also I lost the ultimate control. Someone entered my body without my permission. You know, someone hurt my body without my permission. I mean, if you're into the S&M thing, that's cool, but
that's different.
But you have permission and safe words and all that kind of stuff, right? But you know, like that's the ultimate loss of control. Mm-hmm. And so you're having to do some of this work, and you're tired after it, but you get through it. And like I said, we often sometimes demand perfection from ourselves for some weird reason. So this is where you're resting here from this card. And then these 8 wands come out of the blue. And what these 8 wands are representative of how life is opening up for you. Because suddenly, when you shift, you're never going to see the world the same way again.
Right.
And suddenly you can see different points of light of where you can go. And this is what you're going to find after this work is kind of done. But know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You will shift. And you will, there will be many levels that you have to go through. Because again, you know, at 16 years old, I was raped. And I can fully say probably my last stage of healing was when I did that video. Because I knew as soon as I said the last words, I'm like, I don't have to tell my story anymore. I mean, I share my story because I have people that have similar stories, so I want them to understand I know what you're experiencing. But I would tell my story sometimes. And I went to therapist after therapist, and the last therapist, I was very closed in therapy. Like I was like, you know. The last therapist I went, I put it all out on the table. I just, bleh, you know, and she was like, okay, well, that's lovely, but, and I was just like, whoa.
That was very dismissive. Oh my gosh.
She was very dismissive, and I found that, hang on, I just poured my soul out to you, and for the first time ever, because most therapists would have to draw it out of me, and I'm like, I wanted to be the open book that you can work with, and she sent me to Chapters to buy a book.
Oh my gosh. that was really good therapy. My God.
And I was like, what? So that kind of lost my faith in therapy altogether. And especially, like, I know most of my therapists had not gone through that kind of experience. I got a lot of help at the Rape Crisis Center when I was a teenager, because most people that work there have to have been
experienced something
like
like that.
Exactly. So they were very sympathetic. They were great in the beginning stages of my healing, but I needed to move beyond that. For whatever reason, that wasn't my path to keep going on. But I was, like I said, I was grinding through therapist after therapist, and it wasn't until I kind of found my own techniques through spiritual work, through some very great mentors. They, again, were accidentally awesome, and wow, you really helped me. You don't know what level you've helped me at, you know, and some of the circles I opened up to, that's where I found my sort of sisters that had also been through this and could empathize and provide the support. Yeah, exactly. And some of them even offer techniques that would work, right? So this is what your journey is going to be. And it was a beautiful thing when I knew I'd really let go of it. Because right now, my father on his deathbed, he's dead now, so I won't get him in trouble, but he tracked, because of the profession he was in, he tracked where my rapist is. He was able to do that because my rapist is in prison.
It's a good place for him.
It is a good place for him. So he told me on his deathbed where he is. So that he said he wanted me to know that I'm safe. That, you know, he's not going to be in this area or anything like that, right? Because he knows a couple times I've seen people that kind of look like him. And I'm like, the waves, right? So that was an amazing gift I got from him. However, now I'm like, you know, I hope he's okay. And not many people can say that about someone who's done something like that to them. I don't want to have tea with him or lunch or anything with him. But I'm over it. Yeah, I'm not over it. That's the wrong word. I'm okay with who I am. He's not renting free space in my head anymore. And I hope he's doing as well as he can do where he is.
I try to practice forgiveness too. It's hard sometimes. Sometimes I want revenge.
Of course, yes.
Right? And other times I feel that way, where I can kind of let it go and...
Right.
I don't wish them $1 million. I don't wish them anything wonderful, but I don't...
You don't wish harm on them anymore.
Yeah.
And that's good. And I always kind of jokingly say forgiveness is actually a very selfish act.
Well, when we forgive people, we're actually setting ourselves free. Because we're not being
Absolutely.
controlled by them or what happened anymore.
Exactly. No,
Which
you
is what
totally
I tell
get it.
myself.
Yes. It's hard to get there, but you're on your way. And like this Queen of Pentacles here is saying you've got way more strength than you give yourself credit for. Stop trying to be perfect.
I'm trying.
And the High Priestess is saying she's here with you and ready to help you find that balance, create those calm waters, be still, and learn to be silent with yourself and allow thoughts to come in, but don't let them stay there. That's what meditation is, a very active activity. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think it's umming and being still, and it is being still, but it really what meditation is always coming back to center, because our minds never shut down.
No.
And some of us have more thoughts floating around than others. But there's thoughts that come in, and it's okay. Like the river, let them flow back out. They'll come back if they're important. If they're not, they won't. And that's okay. And let them flow through and go, oh, there was a thought there. Okay, and back to center I come. Oh, and there's a thought there. Oh, maybe it's with the laundry that I have to do. And I say, okay, well, you just go on out and back to center I come. And come back to center and come back to center. And it's a repetition of just coming back to center. And you know, you can start with counting helps. Are you familiar with the 4 count or
the 4 count? No, I guess
okay.
not. I do breath work. I inhale to the count of 8 and hold it to the count of 6 and then let it out to the count of 7. I think that's
okay. So you're doing the 4 count basically. Okay. You're doing it for longer.
Okay.
Most people start with the 4 count because you've obviously been doing it, so you can do it for 8 counts, which is good. Means you've been practicing. And what you're doing is transcendental meditation as opposed to guided.
Oh.
So guided meditation has its place. It's great, awesome. Someone's leading you through the forest into the lovely cottage or wherever you're going and doing things. But transcendental meditation is about sitting with yourself and sometimes sitting in your pain. Because it's only when you sit and immerse yourself in the pain, not rehash it, not relive it, just sit in it and allow it to be, then you can rise out of it. And when I really kind of learned how to do transcendental meditation, that's when healing started in leaps and bounds. And I wish I had found it when I was 17, but, you know, I guess I wasn't meant to.
That's how I feel at 45. Could this not have happened earlier?
But sometimes when we're in meditation and scary thoughts or rehashing thoughts come in, we tend to want to avoid it. Mm-hmm. We need to sit down into it, right into the muddy waters, because transcendental is about being the lotus that blooms even in the muddy waters. So get down into that muck. But you're not the muck. The muck's around you. So you can leave the muck whenever you want. A lot of times when we're going through a very traumatic experience, we take the muck in and think it's a part of us. And we wash ourselves in it, and we maybe even eat some and stuff some in our ears. And we feel that this is me, this is the muck, this is who I am. And what transcendental meditation will do is allow you to separate out so that you become the lotus flower and you rise above it and see the beauty of who you are. And they did the same thing when I went through chemotherapy. They actually told me to sink down into the pain physically, because that's when you do that then you can come back out of it. And I know it sounds like a paradox and, you know, but it's true. I didn't believe them at first. The more you resist the pain, the worse it is. If you go down into it, then you're like, okay, I'm here. Okay, and back out I come. I'm okay. Yay.
It's almost like an acceptance.
Yeah.
This hurts, and I know it hurts, and it's not going to take the hurt away. It's like acknowledging it.
Yeah. But it's also a way of separating yourself from it, right? When you're able to do that, because then it doesn't become part of you or who you are or your identity. And that's the terrible tragedy that often happens with trauma. It starts to become our identity of who we are. I know it was who I was for a long time. Because even when I would introduce myself, like, hi, I'm Rhonda. Silently, I'd be like, I'm a rape victim. You know, I wouldn't say it out loud, but that's part of who I felt I was, right? I'm not as worthy because I'm a rape victim, you know, that sort of thing, right? Hi, I'm Rhonda. I'm a rape victim. I'm ashamed of it, you know, or something like, stuff like that would go through my head, or God forbid they find out, you know?
Well, I guess I feel like that on some level, because this fellow that I'm dating, that's how I feel. So I tell him about that, and he is going to have to either sink or swim with me, and then I feel he is going to feel resentment about that. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you feel he's going to feel resentment about it?
Because he's being, I don't know, I'm taking things away from him that he might enjoy that I can't manage because I'm triggered.
Right. Okay. So you're feeling guilt and shame over the fact that you perceive yourself as offering him limitations because you're denying him certain things, like being able to watch a movie with nudity in it or whatever kind of thing. But you're not.
Okay.
You're not. This is I know.
I don't know.
This is who I am, and this is what I can't handle right now. It doesn't mean down the road I can handle it maybe later, but right now I can't. And I need to be loved the way I am right now. And I'm worthy of love where I am right now. Let's take a Holocaust survivor, for instance. If someone who had gone through the Holocaust and had been in those horrible concentration camps goes to date somebody and says, I can't watch World War II movies because there might be some Holocaust scenes in there and I can't handle watching that. Would you blame that person?
No.
And would you feel that the person that's dating them is being like, well, how dare you deny them these World War II movies?
No.
Right? So, but for some reason, when it comes to rape, we feel like, well, I'm visiting my crap onto this person. This is horrible of me to do. You know? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. If he wants to watch movies with nudity in them when you're not around, that's totally cool. But he has to love and accept you right now that you cannot handle that, and that's okay. You have reason to not be able to handle that right now. Doesn't mean you can't down the road, but he's got to be okay with that. And you are not denying him anything. You're giving him love, and you're giving him a relationship. There's always sort of little ties to relationships. I don't like to say conditions like love me and give me money, but
give and take thing, right?
Yeah. But everyone has their little stuff, right? Like if he says, you know, I can't stand, I don't know, let's say a ticking clock, something silly, right? And you have a ticking clock in your living room. Wouldn't you get rid of the ticking clock if you like the guy?
Yeah.
It's like at least you'd give him a chance, and, you know, if you don't like him, bring the ticking clock back. But there's always like little things, and we accommodate for what people can or cannot handle. And we all have stuff we can or cannot handle. Some of it's silly, some of it's not, whatever. I mean, when it comes to these kind of triggers, that's totally legitimate. It's just like any other person who's gone through some trauma has totally legitimate things that they cannot handle. As long as you remain open to the fact that I may be able to handle it later. If you say I can't handle this and I never will be able to, you're kind of putting a block there.
Yeah, I've done that most of my life.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so much gratuitous stuff in movies these days, so there's a lot that can trigger people. But for the most part, like, you'd like to be able to watch a romantic movie with romantic scenes that doesn't trigger you.
Yes.
You know,
and enjoy it like everybody else does.
Exactly. So, you know, maybe that's your goal, and that's okay that you can't do it right now. It doesn't mean you can't do it down the road. So you leave it open for both you and him so that you can enjoy a romantic movie down the road. Right now you can't. Totally legitimate, totally okay. And he needs to be okay with that, and you need to be okay with that.
I need to be okay with him being okay with that, because he seems to be okay with that.
Okay.
Because he does. He kind of moderates, right? Like, oh, this movie is not for you. Or, you know, he chooses other things to watch when I'm around. And then I feel guilty that he feels like he has to do that. He has to tiptoe around my
He's
trauma.
not tiptoeing around you. He's protecting you and loving you. Let him protect and love you. You know?
See, that's the other thing about me. I have always done that for myself. So it's difficult to give the wheel over to somebody else, too.
Of course.
Because I have to trust that he will love and protect me, which is difficult for me to do.
Oh, totally understandable. And especially as a victim of that sort of crime of rape, you don't like to give up control.
No.
We tend to become control freaks because we've lost the ultimate control before and things went totally wrong, right? So you never want to give up control. So that is a big step for you to take, to be able to say, I trust you enough to allow you to protect me and love me. And
ooh, that just felt wonderful. Hearing that.
And that is a huge step, and recognize that in yourself, because it is such a gift you're giving him, and you're giving yourself too, right? And it helps the relationship just grow that much more. So one thing you could work on is getting rid of the guilt. It's not a limitation you're putting on him. It's simply, like I said, bring in the image of the Holocaust victim. You know, if they didn't want to watch World War II movies, you'd be totally, absolutely, no problem. That's what he's saying. Absolutely, no problem. You know, most men are not horrible men.
No.
Most men want to do the right thing, protect the people that are around them. They want to be the Papa Bear or whatever, right? So let him be it, because you're not letting him be that. You've given him the thing, and then you said, by the way, I'm taking that back.
Because I don't trust you to take care of me.
And I'm going to visit guilt on it as well.
Oh, gosh. It's good to hear that reflected back to me.
Nice. Oh, that's
Thank
awesome. That's what I try to do with tarot. I try to be that mirror to show you the things that maybe you've missed, you know, because we all miss things. We tend to look at the pimples and the hairs that are not supposed to be there when we look at ourselves. We don't see the beautiful face that's staring back at us and the beauty that other people see. And yeah, you're a lovely soul, a lovely soul.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so excited for all this growth and work.
Me too.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen fairly quickly. And there are lots of stuff is going to happen. This time next year and even before then, you're going to be sitting down going, I'm a totally different person, Rhonda.
Oh, I definitely have to come back for more.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm going to turn this off. Thank you so much for coming.